Hi, how are you?
All right. How are you?
Good. It's been a long time. It's good to see you.
You as well. Yeah, it's amazing how much time flies I feel like I've just been head down and trying to just like keep going every day.
I understand. So you've been at your job for how long now?
Early December is when I joined. So
Oh,
I hit my 90 days just this last week.
really? How's it been?
A lot of changes, good changes, but changes nonetheless. Both the good and the bad. Starting with like the bad. When I joined, I partly joined because I was fascinated by like how this company was operating from a compensation point of view.
Hmm.
They had this thing called the partner pay model, and the founder and CEO, he was actually the chairman when I joined, but the founder and chairman had a very strong belief over what he called the sovereignty model. And so everybody at the company was considered a partner. There was complete pay transparency,
Wow.
and they hadn't taken any VC money, and they were profitable. And I'm like, okay, the company's doing well. It's working with a lot of the major tech companies, $200 million a year. You know how much everybody's paid, so there's no games. Within 2 weeks of joining, they got rid of the partner pay model and
Here
announced that we're
comes
going
the
to go
game,
after.
John. Here comes the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're going after VC money. And they got a new CEO.
Yes. Yes. The full complement. Congratulations. That's awesome.
So
Oh.
fortunately, the new CEO is like understands tech. The new CEO, he's a class different. He's a class above the previous
Mhm.
CEO. He was the senior partner and he was running a group called Quantum Black out of McKinsey.
Okay.
It's McKinsey's AI research arm.
Oh, wow.
And it's like 1,500 employees working on AI projects across the entire industry.
Hmm.
And so he's basically taking this company that was heavily ops oriented and just cranking it over to be a tech company.
Wow.
And which is good for me. At
Yeah.
least like now it's like my team actually has like authority and influence versus like how it was pitched to me was like, hey, just be ready for like a slow evolution. And this new CEO came in and was like, no, we're gonna run it this way.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you have really had to pivot, adjust, be agile, all the things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then the other good part of it too is like that we just brought on, he's bringing on all of his people.
Mm.
And I got partnered with a senior engineering leader who has a really compelling vision for an AI agent platform.
Mm.
And so I'm going to be sprinting on that with him. I think his pitch to me was he's like, we'll see how real this is, but he's like, I have technical designs to automate 50% of the jobs in the United States. It's like, okay,
Wow.
let's see what we can do.
Yeah. So, wow, that's really compelling. Oh my gosh. So I feel like, yeah, lot of changes, but I mean, my hope is that you're going to be involved in some really significant projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it'll overall be good. Hopefully it continues to go well and I can capture some of the upside.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it's going to be an interesting experience. And as you are well aware, there's going to be tuck and roll moments and then exciting stuff. So I know you're busy. I know you're very busy. So we're just going to have a conversation. I've got some questions to ask you. And so I want to start off by just having you introduce yourself, your professional background before joining the Executive Career Accelerator here at Vertical Motion.
My name is John Cutter. I'm a product leader. When I joined Vertical Motion, I was the head of product at a company called TruePill that worked in healthcare tech. We were a VC-backed company that was going through a little bit of a downturn. And it was, frankly, within that downturn in engineering and leadership, I realized that it wasn't necessarily the best place for me to grow. And it was time for me to start to go through a career change. And I found myself debating between joining a big company to try to climb corporate ladder, start my own thing, or, at least figure out what was going to be my next move. I've been working in tech for my entire career, everywhere from, Google, IBM Watson, down to five-person startups. I've been through acquisitions, closing the doors on companies, all the way to, larger sales and anywhere from IC work to management work. I've worked in legal departments and customer service but mainly product for most of it. I think think for me, my biggest challenges was I recognized that I was at a crux in my career, and I didn't have the time to really think it through fully myself. I'm typically somebody that takes my own counsel, but with kids involved and a busy life, I didn't have the time to do that, and I needed to make decisions quickly. It was also, I recognized that I was starting to move into a part of my career where you can't just look up online what is the best way to get, I mean, how does compensation work in when you go into executive roles? How does negotiation work? How does positioning work? So you at least come across as somebody that's a cut above the rest. I recognize that I needed help to get there quickly and to make sure I didn't have to iteratively experiment because I wanted to make sure I could decrease the number of experiments I had to run to get it right.
Right, right.
So a coach came to mind, and also just to help me start to make some of those decisions, whether it's do I take the leap into startup world? Do I move into corporate life or try to find out something else? And so I felt a bit lost and wanted some help to try to figure out what is my next move that I feel confident in and make sure that it was the right move for me.
That totally makes sense. Thank you for sharing that. So, within the program, within the process, like what was your experience of the program?
I liked the start a lot of the conversations with Tom, and really kind of that setting up that foundation and base of some of the extras, like the cultural index was helpful. I've done a lot of personality tests, so none of it was necessarily that surprising, but it was nice to kind of that touchstone again to see what's changed a little bit and what is the same. But then scaffolding all of that into some of these other exercises too. Some of the education was really good. There's definitely a couple of nuggets of knowledge that I've taken away from the online courses. Ultimately, though, probably the most powerful takeaway for me was part of me expected to have this aha moment of go off and do this thing. But I think what was more helpful for me was the reassurance that, and I had kind of this theory in the back of my mind for a long time where some of the most successful leaders, the ones who have a deep understanding of themselves, so that way they can wield their strengths in the right way and find people who complement them, because ultimately it's all about just can you get a group of people to agree on something? And it's easier to do that if they recognize you as someone who's genuine and comfortable with yourself, because it's very attractive. And that gave me more confidence and reassurance that some of the thoughts I already had, which was go find another hypergrowth startup that's working on AI and coming back to be yes, that is the right move. Sure, it might not be a $500,000 check that maybe I could pull off in big tech with the right moves, or go off and found something and maybe pull it off, but probably crash a lot of my critical relationships because of the stress involved.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gave me more comfort and assurance of okay, this is the right move for me right now,
Yeah.
as I was starting to look around.
Yeah, that's great. Great. I just think that the statement you made about, the successful leaders are the ones who know the most about themselves. And that's why we call the phone call that you had with Tom in the beginning, the foundations call. It's all of those assessments are set up to let's build a really solid foundation. And that is really in order for people to know themselves. That's where
Yeah.
we're going to start. I'm glad that was effective. So, given your experience, I would say if somebody else was considering joining Vertical Motion as a member, what would be your recommendation? What would be your advice?
I would say it's be honest with yourself about what you know and you don't know, and to treat the experience not as a course where you need to digest everything, but more of a buffet where you need to figure out what you're interested in and really try to engage with that piece of it. That way you can come away with a small amount of meaningful and quality changes as opposed to trying to understand everything.
Mm.
I think it's the beginning of a journey, and to me, it's the most important part was a shift in mindset as opposed to a gathering of hard skills.
That was great. What was your experience? You were part of the inaugural Mastermind in Denver. Talk a little bit about that. How was that experience for you? Specifically, talking about the people that Vertical Motion has attracted. What are your thoughts on that?
Pros and cons. I think pros is what brought me to this community versus other ones is I placed a higher value on being around a group of people that shared similar values. And I love that. You're around people who see the world in a similar way, but who are also ambitious. So, I work with, and I'm fine with it in a lot of ways, but I work with a lot of characters and many people who treat and action on their ambition in very different ways. And, it's just like a sport. Some people are aggressive, some people are not. You roll with the punches and you get through. I think on the con side of things, I haven't quite found people that I don't want this to come across as like utility necessarily, but I haven't found people that I see as like helping grow my career here. And I think like that was the debate as I was looking at different groups, there was some that were heavy on tech and had all the
Right.
connections in Silicon Valley and talk the talk and think the think. And there's people in the community that are like that, but there's a different kind of caliber that I think I kind of missed. But at the same time, like I know that I joined the community because it was about like I'm confident enough in myself to like figure out how to push forward my career.
Mhm.
But what I wanted to do was learn how to do it in a way that I'm not betraying my own values and I'm not going to lose myself along the way.
That is actually really insightful and good feedback for us, especially as a coach. Those are some of the things that we're actually focusing on even further because we are helping people with their careers in different industries. So that was actually really, really helpful. Are you happy with the job that you have today?
I think so. Yeah.
What
It's
time is it? Yes, today.
I think so. I mean, ask me again in like 6 months once we get through the fundraise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fail at the fundraise, I'll be pissed off.
Yeah, I'll check in with you. How are you, John? How are you? How are you doing? Last question, then I'll let you go. I know you've got a lot of things to do, but are there any connections that you made within vertical motion that you see continuing on after the program?
I think, certainly Tom. I
Hmm.
mean, I even see it as like myself still a part of the program, I suppose. I know it's technically like a year, but at least I feel like I can still pop in and take classes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a couple of folks that I'll like chit chat with, but there's not necessarily like a person that comes to mind and they're like, okay, they're like somebody that I am going to like work with or like
Mm.
build something with, or, I'll join some of the happy hours. I'll join the calls and still like chit chat with people and catch up. But, and it's always nice to chat with folks like you and Tom and some of the other folks in the community, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it is a little bit more of an effort to create relationships with people that are not only across the country, but at this point around the world. So it takes
Yeah.
a little bit more of an effort.
Yeah. So, and I'll keep in touch on LinkedIn.
Good, good, good. Well, you were fun to have. I mean, you were a lot of fun. I learned a lot about you in Denver, and so I enjoyed that. So I like the coffee connection. There's a lot of other stuff. Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun at that. And yeah, good people.
Good people. Good people. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Sandra.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, you as well. I'll see you around Slack.
Sounds good. All
All
right.
right. Bye.